We're counting down the 7 deadliest mountains ever climbed, a ranking where survival is not measured by height, but by the shocking odds against returning alive. From commercialized giants to hidden peaks where avalanches and sudden storms make every step a gamble, these mountains are linked by fatality rates that defy belief. Which peak is statistically more lethal than Russian roulette? Let's begin with number 7. At 8,849 meters, Everest towers above every other mountain on Earth. Its name is synonymous with adventure and ambition. Yet for all its height and danger, Everest sits at the bottom of this list when it comes to fatality rate, roughly 6.5%. More than 340 climbers have died on its slopes, but thousands have reached the summit, drawn by the promise of standing on the world's highest point. The cost of an ascent can run from $30,000 to $160,000, fueling a booming industry that draws hundreds each spring. This surge has created long, slow-moving lines near the top, where oxygen runs low and every minute counts. Altitude sickness, especially high-altitude cerebral and pulmonary edema, strikes between 2 and 8% of climbers above 7,000 meters, and accounts for about 15% of Everest's deaths. Months of acclimatization at base camps offer some protection, but in the death zone above 8,000 meters, even experience and preparation are no guarantee. Makalu rises to 8,485 meters, its black pyramid shape slicing the sky along the border between Nepal and China. Unlike Everest, where crowds and commercial teams fill the camps, Makalu offers no safety in numbers. Only 361 climbers have reached its summit, and nearly 14% never return. The danger begins with the terrain itself. Razor-sharp ridges demand precise footwork. One misstep on the knife-edge crest can send a climber plunging thousands of meters. Temperatures routinely fall to minus 40 degrees Celsius, freezing exposed skin in minutes. But the greatest threat comes from above. Cornices, overhanging shelves of wind-blown snow, form along the narrow ridgelines. When these collapse, they trigger slab avalanches that sweep the route clean. Even the most skilled teams can be caught off guard, with no warning before the snow gives way. On Makalu, every move is a test of pure technical skill. There are no fixed ropes, no ladders, and no room for error. The mountain's solitude and severity leave little margin for rescue, and every summit attempt is a gamble against the elements. Kangchenjunga rises to 8,586 meters on the border of Nepal and India, remote even by Himalayan standards. Only 312 people have ever stood near its summit, and nearly 15% never made it back alive. Unlike Everest or Makalu, there are no ladders, no fixed ropes, and rarely any rescue teams within reach. The mountain's isolation means that even minor accidents can become fatal. Storms roll in with almost no warning, transforming clear skies into blinding whiteouts in minutes. But the danger here is not just physical. For the Lepcha and Limbao peoples, Kangchenjunga is sacred. The true summit is believed to be the home of powerful deities. Since the first ascent in 1955, every team has honored a promise to stop a few meters short of the top, out of respect for local beliefs. Climbers who break this tradition risk not only their lives, but their relationship with the communities that call these mountains home. On Kangchenjunga, the greatest threats are as much spiritual and cultural as they are environmental. Dhaulagiri stands at 8,167 meters, but it is not just the height that makes it lethal. The mountain's weather is infamous for turning violent with almost no warning. Clear skies can vanish in minutes, replaced by hurricane-force winds and blinding snow. Climbers who set out under calm conditions often find themselves pinned down by storms that last for days, with temperatures plunging far below freezing. The real terror, though, lies in the icy falls. Massive blocks of ice, some as large as houses, break loose without warning and crash down the mountain, obliterating everything in their path. Entire camps have been buried in seconds. Powder avalanches, triggered by these collapses, sweep across the standard routes, leaving climbers with nowhere to run. The northeast ridge, considered the safest passage, still demands technical precision and nerves of steel. The south face, nearly vertical and riddled with unstable seracs, has defeated every attempt to climb it. By 2024, Dhaulagiri has recorded around 480 summits and 82 deaths, a fatality rate of 17%. Here, Even the best prepared teams can vanish in a moment, outmatched by forces no human can predict or control. Nanga Parbat rises to 8,126 meters in the western Himalayas, earning its name, the Killer Mountain, from decades of tragedy. Its south face, the Rupal face, is the highest mountain wall on Earth, stretching 4,600 meters from base to summit. Climbers face a slope that averages 50 degrees, a near vertical expanse of rock, snow, and shifting ice. Every step upward is exposed to falling rock and avalanches, with nowhere to hide for days at a time. The climb does not end at the top of the face. After conquering the Rupal face, teams must endure another 4 to 6 days of technical climbing before reaching the summit and making it back down. The mountain's death toll is a stark warning. About 21% of those who attempt to summit never return. 62 bodies remain on the mountain, frozen reminders of the price paid for ambition and endurance. Only 261 climbers have ever stood on the top. The psychological burden is as punishing as the physical. Extended exposure to altitude and fear wears down even the strongest minds. Climbers report hallucinations, numbness, and a sense of detachment as days pass on the face. On Nanga Parbat, survival demands more than skill. It demands the ability to endure relentless danger, knowing that rescue is all but impossible. K2 rises to 8,611 meters along the border of Pakistan and China, but it is not the height that terrifies climbers, it is the bottleneck. This narrow couloir, perched at over 8,200 meters, sits directly beneath massive overhanging seracs, blocks of ice the size of houses. Every summit attempt must pass beneath these frozen giants, knowing that any shift could trigger a deadly avalanche. The bottleneck is only wide enough for a single line of climbers, with a sheer drop to one side and unstable ice looming overhead. In 2008, 30 climbers began their final bench in clear conditions. As teams bunched up at the bottleneck, delays mounted. Then, without warning, a chunk of serac broke loose, severing the fixed ropes and sweeping climbers from the face. Chaos followed, radio calls for help, confusion in the darkness, and exhausted climbers forced to descend without ropes. 11 people died that night. On K2, the descent is where most lives are lost. About 80% of deaths happen after the summit, when fatigue, altitude sickness, and fading light turn every step downward into a fight for survival. Only 377 climbers have ever stood on the summit. With a fatality rate near 23%, K2's reputation as the Savage Mountain is well earned. At 8,091 meters, Annapurna 1 is not the tallest peak in the Himalayas, but, by any measure, it is the most lethal. The odds are stark. For every 3 climbers who reach its summit, 1 never comes back. The fatality rate, ranging from 29 to 33%, makes Annapurna be deadlier than Russian roulette. Since its first ascent in 1950, only about 365 people have stood on its summit. 72 have lost their lives trying. Avalanches are the mountain's signature threat. Snowpack on Annapurna's steep faces is notoriously unstable, and avalanches strike with little or no warning. More than half of all deaths here are caused by avalanches, many triggered by sudden temperature shifts or the slightest disturbance on the slopes. Survivors describe hearing a distant rumble, then a wall of snow and ice roaring down at impossible speed, sweeping tents, ropes, and climbers into the void. But avalanches are only part of the danger. The massif's unique topography channels winds through narrow valleys, creating abrupt hurricane-force gusts that can tear apart camps and pin climbers in place for days. These violent winds are so unpredictable that no weather station has ever captured their full intensity. Only battered tents and shattered expeditions bear witness. Between camps 3 and 4, climbers must navigate vertical walls of ice and deep crevasses that can swallow a person whole. Even experienced teams, equipped with the best gear and forecasting tools, are often forced to turn back or risk joining the mountain's grim statistics. On Annapurna, where the numbers tell the story, 365 summits, 72 deaths. No other 8,000er comes close. Here, height means little. Survival depends on luck, timing, and respect for a mountain that offers no second chances. Across all 7 peaks, one truth emerges. The deadliest mountains are not always the tallest, but the most unpredictable. Altitude, weather, and terrain conspire to make survival a matter of chance, not skill. The real summit isn't the peak, it's making it home alive.